Talking about cinematherapy again. We're going to talk about theory and application. There are reasons why sometimes your clients need to see something positive. That's because sometimes the role models that they have or that they don't have are unavailable in real life, but can be found in films. And of course, we can always use Superman, Wonder Woman, or Batman. From the fictionalized or real worlds of business, sports, entertainment, history, politics, and religion, people have always shaped themselves by reference to the larger than life characters. Excuse me. Role models may be larger than life, but to be believable, they must be similar to us in some respects: family, background, life experience, vocation, lifestyle, or in conflicts that they face, like McLovin, of course. The primary issue in role model compatibility is whether clients can project themselves into a desirable character, seeing themselves as they have been, are today, or would like to become in the future. One way to select a role model for a client is to conceptualize an ideal mentor and then choose a film that features such a character, like Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. It is recommended that role models who struggle with and overcome the same issues that the client faces will allow them to learn from a role model's experience. Clients can benefit from film characters' lessons. And of course, that would be tough. Of course, Field of Dreams is just north of here, about 40 miles in Dyersville. And I've been there a couple times. Cool place. Really cool place. Clients may be influenced by a fictional role model's negative traits as well as his positive ones. A therapist can inoculate a client against inappropriate identifications by cautioning beforehand what not to take from a character. And of course, if you've seen the Bridges of Madison County, Clint Eastwood's character is, and the Meryl Streep character is unfaithful to her husband with Clint Eastwood. Positive traits, when we talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, positive traits: he's got spunk, everybody likes him, he's good with computers, he has a great girlfriend, he's a good person, he takes care of his friends. Those are his positive traits, but there's also some pretty negative traits as well. He tells lots and lots of lies. He's conceited, he manipulates everybody, he makes fun of people, he burns bridges with people he might need, and he's a little spoiled. Well, he's more than a little spoiled. Dramatic role models can sometimes be preferable to real-life mentors. Real-life mentors often disappoint their proteges when they display human limitations. Role models in films may fall from grace, but then they work their way back. Clients learn that true heroes learn from their mistakes, and they can too. And just like Remember the Titans. Really cool movie. Therapeutic films should correspond to clients' narratives as closely as possible in terms of chronological age, socioeconomic background, education, values, and subject matter. Some clients are rigid, and others may be more imaginative, which dictates what films will benefit each type of individual. Films should be selected to mirror the client in as many ways as possible. The Billionaire Boys Club is probably one that I wouldn't select for anyone on the Navajo Nation. The Billionaire Boys Club is about a group of guys from either Harvard or Yale who are already wealthy, and so they try to, I guess they're all from Los Angeles. Maybe they went to Stanford. Anyway, they go to an elite school and they try to take over the stock market. Research has shown that values shared between films and the client are more critical than demographics. Mismatches may occur when therapists make film assignments that reflect their own values rather than their clients'. To prevent this from happening, therapists should bear in mind regional standards and should discuss potentially offensive aspects of a film before making an assignment. And of course, Monsters Ball is, I never could figure out why they called it Monsters Ball, is about a prison system in the South. The subject matter of a film should match the presenting problem of a client. A single film can be helpful to clients with several different concerns. The film, When a Man Loves a Woman, deals with a woman struggling to recover from alcoholism, but it also deals with relationship difficulties, stereotypic male-female roles, and dysfunctional communication. And of course, it was a pretty upsetting movie. She decided that she needed treatment when her daughter almost died because she was drunk and she couldn't take care of her. And it was really kind of interesting because Andy Garcia's character, Meg Ryan and Andy Garcia are in this movie. Andy Garcia's character kind of ignored that. He ignored her drunkenness before that. He saw it, but he dealt with it by ignoring it, I guess. So, interesting movie. Personal taste varies, and therapists should work with the films that clients prefer. Occasionally, clients will prefer films that therapists do not. Failure to take into account a client's taste in films will result in poor adherence to watching schedules. Assigning films that the clients don't prefer is like forcing them to learn a new tongue, the therapist's movie preferences. And of course, that's not something that you need to do. I've never seen The Godfather. People keep saying it's one of the greatest movies of all time, but I'm just not really, I don't feel like I need to watch a movie about the mafia. Thank you very much. Start with films that the client has already seen. They should talk openly about the movie, thus showing their preferences. The therapist should select a movie that is similar to the movie the client has described. The therapist should not overlook underlying themes for the major theme they are trying to display. Discuss scenes that might be offensive: language, sex, nudity, and violence. Objections should lead to selecting an alternative film. The therapist should clarify the intent when assigning a film in which a client might mistake the role identification. The client should be advised to stop the film if they strongly dislike it, which may be the case with Brokeback Mountain. If you can't tolerate homosexual interaction, homosexual behavior, then Brokeback Mountain would not be a movie that you would want to see. Clients should be aware that their film suggestions are important and may be therapeutically more useful than those selected by the therapist. The films that the client likes the most may be unremarkable to the therapist. Any film that leads to the clients opening up and revealing their true feelings is a good film. And I don't know anything about Serenity, so I don't remember why I put this up here. Films are ideal metaphors for problem solving because they involve thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. A character experiences a crisis, tries out several unsuccessful responses, and ultimately finds a resolution. Although films rarely provide exact solutions that clients can imitate in their own lives, they frequently act metaphorically to generate new approaches. And of course, Back to the Future, none of us have that problem. None of us are time travelers, so we don't have the exact problem that Marty had. Ideally, the client will identify with the main characters, test out options considered by the characters, and find points of agreement as well as disagreement with the resolutions. In follow-up discussions with the therapist will reinforce the experience by emphasizing the explicit impressions, by asking the client to describe the actions taken by the characters and analyzing whether they are helpful or not. And Snowpiercer is about a train in a world that has become cold. It's turning cold, and Snowpiercer is about the elite. I think the elite are on the train, and the people that are not on the train are the ones that are the workers, are the drones. And I've never actually seen the film. I just read the synopsis. Bringing the client back to Earth, the client should critically evaluate the decisions made by the characters in a film because a movie protagonist's choices may not be the best for them. When the client begins to over identify with the hero who throws caution to the wind, the therapist needs to celebrate the spirit while grounding the experience. Truth or Dare. I've never seen this one either. I'm not sure why I put this one up there. A client described in the text after watching Ruby in Paradise decided to quit her job and open a craft store, which evidently is what the character in Ruby in Paradise did. The therapist had her compare her situation with that of Rudy in the football movie Rudy, who had multiple fallback plans in case his fallback plans in case his dreams of Notre Dame football didn't materialize. The client compromised by renting a booth at an arts and crafts cooperative. Ashley Judd, that's who that is. She lights up the screen. An indirect effect is the impression that a client takes from an incidental aspect of a film, an impression not dependent on the film's major theme. The effect lingers long after the client sees the film and may be out of proportion to its narrative intent because of the psychological needs of the client at the time of the viewing. And of course, this is Avatar. Sometimes films are chosen not because they contain characters who are role models or their themes are similar to clients' problems, but because the film as a whole offers a healing experience. Watching the film brings about the better frame of mind, a sense of being connected with the universe, and renewed hope. And that's what happens in Stand and Deliver. Here are a group of minority students who are forced, almost forced, to learn calculus, to learn advanced mathematics. And they are the smarter kids in the school, but it's a downtrodden school, and the Edward James Olmos character is able to get them to apply themselves, and that's a really positive thing. And interestingly, it's a true story. The answer to many of life's problems can be found in the movies. The most therapeutic dilemma and the most challenging job of a therapist is to help a client out of denial. Helping them out of their denial can be very difficult and time extensive. Denial is the inability to see a situation, a life problem, as it is affecting their lives and future. So you may ask yourself, why in the world do so many people go into denial? And the answer is that they go into denial because it's more comfortable than admitting the reality of a situation. So they go into denial, and it's long-term denial. It's long-term not dealing with their problem, and it becomes a habit for them. And one of the things that you have to do is the first thing you have to do is get them to stop. To be more realistic and stop living in denial. This is the biggest problem you have when you're dealing with somebody who is a drug addict or somebody who is an alcoholic. They will always tell you that the alcohol is no problem. They're not really an alcoholic. They are. They can quit anytime they want. That's what they will tell you. They just don't want to. That's the denial you have to get through. The movie Don't Look Up was about a meteor about to hit the Earth. And they found it and they started telling people about it, and nobody did anything about it. Very few people did anything about it. And so eventually they got to the point where nobody would look up because that's where their doom was. They were doomed to be destroyed by a meteor. And it's a movie about denial, mass denial. A therapist's technique for helping a client out of denial is to use what the movie industry refers to as suspension of disbelief. Suspending one's belief comes about when a movie or book is so strong and real in its presentation that the viewer forgets that they are watching a story. A therapist needs to get clients to suspend their disbelief and accept the story in the film as a real life situation. They may be able to see themselves, their family, or their friends in the characters in the film. Suspension of disbelief is the mirror image of denial. If a movie can bring out an emotional attachment to the story and characters long enough, it can help a client deal with their own problems and issues. Some therapists have found that clients can move more rapidly through the denial stage of their treatment when they use movies to bring themselves out of denial. People tend to the opposite of what they see and experience. With movies, people learn what they should do in life by watching the opposite. They learn what to do by seeing the wrong way of doing things. And 12 Years a Slave is about a man, an African American gentleman before the Civil War, who was born free, and he made the mistake of traveling to the South, and he was captured and he was sold into slavery, and he couldn't get anybody to listen to him. The fact that he was not a slave and he shouldn't be a slave. He couldn't get anybody to listen to him for 12 years. So he had to live as a slave for 12 years. It's a true story, sadly enough. One of the goals of films and therapy is to use the movies to unlock the doors in the client's memories, the doors that have been sealed shut for one reason or another. The movies can unlock the doors to some of the memories that might have been trying to process as dreams. Watching a movie that helps the client deal with the healing may be perpetuated by a dream that creates the continuation of the healing process. And of course, Thank You for Your Service is about PTSD and about people recovering from PTSD. Movies may help the client put to rest conflicting feelings that they have been carrying around for years. Clients will sometimes try to drown the weight of the feelings in alcohol, hide them behind indiscriminate sex, or curb them with fatigue or of a workaholic. Movies can sometimes free the client to heal, and dreams from the movie and healing add to the process. I didn't read that right, did I? Movies can sometimes free the client to heal, and dreams from the movie and healing add to the process. But still didn't do very well. Anyway, okay, I'm not sure what rabbit hole is. You'll have to look it up yourself. Men's and women's issues are the most recurring theme in therapy. He never listens to me. It's like talking to a brick wall. We used to have sex all the time. Since we started living together, I might as well be celibate. She won't do anything around the house. I'm getting tired of this stuff. Blue Velvet is about a couple that decides to break up. Blue Valentine, I'm sorry. And the reason they call it Blue Valentine is because they're breaking up rather than getting together. And the reality is, when you guys start counseling, this is going to be the most common problems that you have. People aren't going to be dealing with as much with depression or anxiety. They're going to be dealing with relationship problems. So you're going to have to you're going to have to listen to what they say, and you'll have to determine whether the real problem has to do with the relationship that they're in. Happiness has a lot to do with what kind of a relationship you're in. And that's what people are looking for. And one of the reasons they are coming into you is because they're no longer happy. So be prepared. You need to make sure that this isn't the real problem. The fact that they're unhappy with their situation, unhappy with their relationship, whatever that may happen to be. Looking at the research done on the efficacy of cinematherapy, we can see that there was a wave of cinematherapy use in the United States at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, but less discussion about it in the 2010s and 2020s. There may be many reasons for this, from fear of a new technique to the inability to grasp the concept. This is research that was done by Sharp, Smith, and Cole in 2002, Cinematherapy Metaphorically Promoting Therapeutic Change, in Counseling Psychology Quarterly. Sharp and her colleagues seem to be very careful about suggesting that cinematherapy works, and in fact complain about the paucity of research on the topic and suggest increased research in the future. Emphasizing the word metaphor, the authors suggest that using film as a metaphor allows the client to experience the feelings of the film without the interference of intellect and analysis. The example they give is interesting. Abby is a 15-year-old girl that the parents think might be getting sexually active with her boyfriend. Neither the parents or Abby feel comfortable talking about sex, so the therapist assigns the movie for keeps, a movie about a pregnancy with a teen couple for the family to watch. In the follow-up session, the parents are able to discuss their fear of Abby getting pregnant and the consequences. All parties are able to discuss sex through the characters in the movie. Whereas initially they, of course, couldn't talk about sex. They didn't want to talk about sex. It was one of the taboo subjects that they couldn't discuss. But they could talk about sex in the context of the movie. And so that's how they actually dealt with it. Doumtraki in 2014, the effects of a cinematherapy group on diminishing anxiety in young people. And that's Doumtraki right there. This research comes out of Romania. Doumtraki in 2014 took 60 subjects between the ages of 19 and 22 and divided them into 30 in the control group and then 30 in the experimental group. She measured the anxiety levels of all the subjects. With the experimental group, Doumtraki showed weekly sessions of movies that were based on existential and relational problematic nucleus. The movies covered the following topics: childhood and family universe, couple relationships, social relationships, adjustment, maladjustment, exclusion, discrimination, justice, equality, morality, responsibility, relationships with oneself, themes of personal development and death, self-knowledge and spiritual interests, relation between natural, artificial, normal, supernatural, paranormal, topics regarding the existential meaning. And the reason I have this picture up here is because that is the traditional garb of Romania, or one of the traditional garbs. Actually, there are several different ethnic groups living in Romania. That's one of them. While the anxiety level of the control group tested basically the same both during the initial testing and after 3 months, the experimental group tested significantly lower after 3 months of cinematherapy. Doumtraki in 2014 found that the group was highly receptive to this work method by means of movies. The participants explored their inner universe by identifying themselves with some characters or due to the central themes offered by the movie. Thus, they signified their personal universe. They restructured and transformed their own life script. And that was the experimental group. Kusumdiwi and Julian Tika, 2018, the effectiveness of cinematherapy to improve student empathy. This research was done in Indonesia. Kusumdiwi and Julian Tika in 2018 wanted to see if cinema therapy would raise the empathy level of students with low empathy. The subjects were nine. There were 9 subjects. They were 9 years old. I'm sorry. No, that's not right. They were 9 years old. No, that's not right. There were 9 of them, and they were between 15 and 16-year-old students who scored low on empathy skills in a pretest situation. There were 9 of them. Indonesia is the most populous Muslim country in the world and maintains a strong collectivistic society. The research was conducted at a high school with a Western curriculum. Cinema therapy was conducted in 5 sessions using films that emphasize the following attributes: empathizing with others, caring for others, solidarity with friends, cooperating with others, helping others. After the therapy, the students were given a post-test. Remember, this is 9 individuals who scored low on the empathy scale. After the cinema therapy, the students were given the post-test measuring their empathy level, and the group averaged an increased score of 22.4, with the lowest increasing 17 points and the highest increasing 28 points. Discussions after the film showed that the students felt empathy for the fictitious characters, and this transferred to an increased empathy score post-therapy. Sacalito, Salvato, Villa, Salvi, and Botani. Through the Looking Glass, a scoping review of cinema therapy, cinema and video therapy. This was in 2022. This is a meta-analysis looking at 38 studies dealing with cinema and video therapy from Italy. Criteria for eligibility included research article, use of complex visual stimuli including video, film, or documentary, application of the techniques on psychological or physical difficulties, and it had to be in the English language. 184 were initially identified, but 148 were disqualified for not meeting one of the 4 parameters of the study, which means there were, 36, 38? Wait a minute, do the math. 36, sorry. 38 studies published between, wait a minute. 38 studies published between 1974 and 2018 were included in the study. 7 used classical cinema therapy, 9 used a video modeling approach, 5 applied video peer modeling. 11 out of the 38 used a generic video treatment. Traditional cinema therapy can be defined as a therapeutic technique in which the therapist selects commercial films and asks the client to see them alone or with specific other people, such as family members. The therapist chooses some films that relate to the patient's difficulties, and after a viewing session discusses with the patient the main themes that emerge from the film. Now, these are pictures of the actual authors of the article. Sacalito, that's Sacalito. Salvato, that's Salvato. Villa, that's Villa. And now we're going to see Salvi and Botini. Traditional cinema therapy was found in the following research: Turley and Dearden in 1990, Heston and Cotman in 1997, Bierman et al. In 2003, Marsick in 2010, Gramaglia et al. In 2011, Ballard in 2012, Agachi and Jinkaz in 2017. That's a Turkish research. And there's the last lady. The video modeling technique exposes clients to videos in which characters manifest specific skills that the client needs to learn. For example, learning how to interact with other people successfully. At the end of the video, the client can practice what they learned from the character. Video modeling is often combined with other types of therapy. Video modeling is often used with autism spectrum disorder. Video modeling was found in the following research: Charlap and Milstein in 1989, Reeve et al. In 2007, Scattoni in 2008, Coughlin et al. In 2009, Jones et al. In 2014, Koppel et al. In 2015, McPherson et al. In 2015, Von Maffei et al. In 2015, and Walsh et al. In 2018. Humor has been used in cinema therapy by several researchers. Kamada in 2007-2008 screened humorous films for patients suffering from atopic dermatitis, and that's what atopic dermatitis is, and other manifestations of stress-related illness. Comic films reduce stress, reducing estradiol levels, which improved symptoms. Galkoff et al. In 2006 showed humorous films to patients suffering from schizophrenia 5 days a week for 3 months. Results showed a reduction of depression and anxiety levels. Golan et al. And Yan et al. Golan et al. In 2010 and Yan et al. In 2018 were able to teach children with autism spectrum disorder to recognize 15 target emotions by showing cartoons of Thomas and Friends. The depictions are trains with human faces. If you've never seen this, is one of my grandson's favorite cartoons when he was very young. Thomas and Friends, Thomas the Train. And I think this is Thomas. He's the one in the middle. Cinema therapy and video modeling can treat various psychological difficulties, in particular conditions in healthy and pathological populations. Marsick in 2010 improved the understanding of the feelings of children of parental divorce by watching films about separation and divorce. Bierman et al. In 2003 showed that people preferred films conceived for their age and historical periods. The study used cinema therapy to treat young girls with legal and family problems, demonstrating enhanced compliance, cooperation, and understanding of their family problems. Cinema therapy and video modeling were shown to work with the following pathologies: autism spectrum disorder, addiction, schizophrenia, anxiety, dementia, anorexia nervosa, and learning disabilities. Little Miss Perfect is about a lady a girl with obsessive compulsive disorder. And that is the end. So one of the things I want to leave you with is that humor is very therapeutic, and anytime you can find a film or suggest a film with humor in it, then it usually makes people feel better. So I will talk to you again next week.